Hi, it's Will from StoneandCastle.com, and guess what I did this weekend? For the first time this season, I cranked up the forge. Spent 10 hours at the forge, hammering out a bunch of stuff. And one thing I did was, today's tutorial is how to make a basic, plain, mean, medieval looking, no frills added sword. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I said, gee, I wonder how fast I could make a sword, because it's usually 40, 50 hours of work, all the hand work and all the hand grinding and all of that. And I said, I wonder how fast I can make one. Well, 6 hours from start to finish. And you can see it needs some polish and it needs work, but that's it, it's done. There you go. So that's what this video is about. And I show you some basic blacksmithing stuff, like what is a hardy tool? What is a cutoff tool? We use those in this video. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Dioramas, origami, catapults, and trebuchets, telescopes, terrariums, bonsai trees, and paper games, swords and shields, and real blacksmithing, model rockets, animation. I teach the art of real creation. StoneandCastle.com. Let's make something. Okay, it's been months. It's been a long winter, and it's a beautiful day in April, a beautiful weekend in April, and I said, that's it. I am starting at the forge, so let's clean it out. Add some hardwood lump charcoal and light the fire. Yes, I was so excited. It felt so good to be hammering away at steel. So the first thing we're going to start with is a piece of steel I picked up at Home Depot. This is 2 inches by 1/8 inch thick by 36 inches long. And that's pretty much our sword. So let's heat that up, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to form the point of the sword. See it? Heat the end up there. Hard to see in the sunlight. But now see that tool? I have a hammer in my hand, and I've got the sword on top of a tool. That is a hardy tool. That is called a cutoff tool. There's a hole in the anvil that you place that tool in, and there's all kinds of hardy tools. I actually have a video. I think I have a video on hardy tools. So multiple hits, multiple times, heat it up, form it a little bit more, shape it, keep it flat, until I get the point that I wanted. See? Kind of get a curve. To get kind of like a curve, you do multiple hits. You do multiple cuts and curve it around. Simple as that. And there we go. I'm happy with that point. That's pretty good end of a sword for a quick sword. So now we're going to make the tang. The tang is the part where the handle is, and that needs to be thinner than the blade of the sword. So how do we thin that out? Just blacksmithing. What I did was I created that's where the tang goes, right there. I created 2 slots just a little bit in, like 3/4 of an inch in, like this. And I'll show you. See that? See those 2 slots? Now what we do is from those slots, we're going to go the length of the handle and cut away the excess steel. You will see, if you don't quite understand what I mean, you're going to see it as we do it right here in the next minute. So repeated heating. So heat it up, cut away some of the steel like that. See that line? We're going to cut all the way the length. And it's going to start cutting here. See the 2 lines? Bring that all the way down to the end. So here goes. I've established my lines. Now I'm going to do the actual cutting. See it? Now watch this. Here's a nice little trick. You cut on the cutting tool, and then shift it and cut some more. And you shift it and you cut some more. See? Shift it, you cut some more. Reheat it, cut it, shift it, cut some more. All the way down the length for the full tang. And I'm leaving some of this footage in because I just thought you'd like to see it and working towards the progress. To thin it out. So now you can understand, see how that's the handle part now is thinner than the blade. Shift it, cut it, shift it, and cut it. I like it. It feels good to hammer at steel. And there we go. We've cut those off. So now we have what looks almost like a tang. I'll spend a little time cleaning it up a little bit, and I will also taper down the end of it a little bit. This end that's closest to us. And I do that by putting it back on the hardy tool. Heat it up, cut the ends a little bit. And there we go. Very, very nice. Not bad for a quick sword. That's my whole point, was how quick can I get through this? And after that, I needed a cake break. So now we're going to do the guard. That is 1 1/4 inches wide, 3/16 thick, and 36 inches long, that piece. We don't need the whole 36 inches. But what the guard is here, we want to cut a slot in the middle of that guard so the sword tang can fit through it like this. And we're going to do that now. But how do we get such a small slot without a specialized tool? I'll show you a little trick. And this is one of the things about, the lovely things about blacksmithing, is figuring stuff out. How do I work with what I've got, what tools I've got? How do I get creative here to figure out how to solve the problem? So this is how I solved this particular problem. Without making a tool. I could have made a tool to cut the exact size hole we wanted, but I said, let me try this. And it works, although it's a little bit tricky. I actually folded the steel right there where the fold is. That's going to be the center. That's where we want our slot. So I heated up and folded it over. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Nice and hot. And then I cut a notch in it like this. Cut right through it, all the way through it. A notch about half of what we needed for our tang. So can you guess from here what would happen? Once we open that bend back up, we've got a slot. So can you visualize that? How that's going to be a slot when we open it back up? I'll show you. There's our notch. Very nice. You know, a lot of people email me about we open it back up and reveals our slot. A lot of people email me about they want a blacksmith, they always wanted a blacksmith, but they don't have the tools, they don't have this, or they don't have that, or they don't have the time, or, you know, yeah, anything is a challenge. You know, you want to learn something new, think of it that way. Think of, jeepers, you know, I figure it out. I didn't know, there was a point where I was like, I don't know what to do. You know, I ended up buying 5 books from Amazon and reading through them, trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I, never hit a hot piece of steel in my life. But you know, you keep moving forward and you get through it. So that slot is there. Let's just open it up with a piece of steel that's the same size as our tang. Just like that. See it? Beautiful. Look how easy that goes through there. There we go. Now we've got our guard. See how that's going to be? I like it a lot. So I guess what I was saying is, you know, you can make it happen. So let's cut the guard down to size, both one end and then the other end. Everything. This is, I should call this the cut-off tool sword, because we did just about everything on the cut-off tool. And then we cut it the other end and we have our guard. That's the size of it. So with the slot in the middle, I'll show you how that fits. Now I didn't forge weld these together. Forge welding is where you heat it up to the point and then you hammer them together so they become one piece of steel. I didn't do that, but I do have a tutorial for that coming up. I did that work the same day. But look, now let's fit them together. We're going to hammer that sword right down into that guard. Oh, look at that. I love that. That's a lovely color. A little bit more. And we're good to go. Look at that. Clean things up, straighten them out a little bit. Not spending a whole lot of time in any of this because we're trying to make this sword as fast as we possibly can. And there we go. The forging is done. You know, the work at the forge is done. Let's move this stuff over to the shop. There's our sword, and there's a little knife I made too. I think I'm going to do a tutorial. I'm making a quick knife. A quick down and dirty knife. I might do that. I have that all worked out, the steel done. So now we want to put a wooden handle on this. So I marked off 2 holes with that tool called a center punch. That puts a divot where you want to drill. And the reason why you always center punch before you drill is so the drill doesn't drift. This way the drill will sit exactly in that little divot you made, right there, and drill. So it drill those 2 holes out. Very nice, 1/4 inch. Now we're going to use some, this is some wood I had for knife making. Mora wood it's called. It's a very nice wood. And we'll cut that block down. It's a 6-inch long block. And it's 2 by 2. But we'll cut it down to about handle shape. But I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. Just doing a rough handle. Mark it down the center and then we'll split it open. And then it becomes a scale. They call that a scale. When you have 2 matching halves of a piece of wood for a knife or a sword or something. They call it, usually for a knife, they call it a scale, those 2 halves. So now, put 1 half underneath, drill through the holes we made. That transfers the holes to half of the handle. And we also do the same thing, we drill through the other half too. So now let's glue the thing together. I am using Gorilla Glue, which is fantastic for knife making and whatnot. 5-minute epoxy, it sets quick. Spread a liberal amount on there. Put it underneath. Now this is just a quick sword, a really down and dirty kind of sword. If you want to make a real, like, better sword that's hardened and tempered and all that, and really I go through every step of the way, showing you every tool and everything. I do have videos on that. So we put the halves of the handle on there and we pin them with just wooden pins. Clamp it down until it dries. We don't clamp on the pins. Now we'll shape the handle a little bit, but not a whole lot. Just round it out somewhat with a rasp. And it's really, I did this over the course of 3 days, a little bit each day, for a total of about 6 hours on this. What the heck, I didn't even do a pommel. Sand it down, and then spread some tung oil on it, and that's it. This sword is done. Crazy looking medieval kind of thing. Something, from 400 years ago. But that's it. 2 pieces of steel, a piece of wood, a couple of pins, and that's that. Now, I put a little bit of a bevel on it. I didn't put a full bevel to make it sharp. And it wouldn't hold an edge very good because we didn't harden and temper the steel, so this thing would dull with use, but what the heck. Well, I'm not going to use it on anybody or anything. And then a file to accentuate that bevel and we're done. Hey, I'm going to leave the steel, the color of it too. I like that color. It almost looks like Elucidator, that color. That's it. One last look. That wasn't so hard. If you make a sword, and people do, make sure you send me a picture. Thanks for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing to my channel. If you're not a subscriber, hit that button. I always have lots of fun and interesting and very creative projects. I do 2 new ones every week. As an example, here's a couple more videos you might want to watch.